Welcome back to another episode of the Blacklist Podcast. Today, we are thrilled to have Mark Hampton. Mark is a former law enforcement officer, a suicide survivor, and a passionate advocate for mental health and substance abuse issues. In addition to his advocacy work, Mark is a talented musician and a proactive social media content creator. He uses his platforms to connect with and support others who are facing similar challenges, sharing his experiences and insights to help guide them through their struggles. Today, we'll dive into Mark's journey, exploring how his experiences have shaped his mission and how he's using his talents to make a difference. Join us for an inspiring conversation filled with meaningful lessons in resilience and healing. This episode, along with a host of other inspiring stories, can be found at theblacklistpodcast.com. Without further delay, Mark Hampton. Mark, man, thank you for coming on. Thanks for taking the time to spend with us and kind of just get to know a little bit more about you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. So let's hop into it. So, what was like childhood like for you? We'll just kind of start there.
I mean, I'm from Texas. I grew up in the country. My dad was a musician, so I grew up in the bars, pretty much dancing on the pool tables while my dad was gigging every night, out in the stockyards in Fort Worth, and that's kind of like where my passion for music has come. And we left Fort Worth, I think when I was around 9 or so, moved to Houston for about a year and a half. We're out there for just a short period of time, and then we moved to Georgia, and I've been out here in Georgia ever since.
Did you have like a normal upbringing, or was it kind of like, did you start?
No, I mean, growing up in bars and dancing on pool tables isn't
No.
normal.
I'm saying aside from that though, like some people like that's normal. Okay, that's normal to some people. But what I'm saying like is normal as far as like dabbling into like like weed and drinking and this and that. Like was that an early age or did that come on like after?
I mean, obviously not at 9, but
Some people, man, some people
yeah.
start at 9.
But no, I mean, I absolutely was, drinking at 14, 15, and been drinking ever since, obviously. But then all the way up until, God, I guess 9 months ago, whenever I battle so hard with mental health, and it eats me alive, and and I battle with, I don't know what words are not allowed to be said on here, but I get,
You can
suicide.
say anything you want. Yeah.
Suicide is huge for me, and I struggle with it daily. My attempts, and I've gone to rehab twice, and so I started with alcohol. I cut it out, trying to have one less cloud, in my head to try to help me, and of course over these 9 months of cutting it out, of course in those 9 months I have drank twice, a little bit, not to get intoxicated, but just to get that taste, but just trying to cut it out, just trying to find ways to get myself on the right track, because mentally I'm just so far off track, if that makes sense.
At what age did you start realizing like with your battle with your mental health?
Man, I've been struggling with ideations probably since I was in middle school, and I guess I thought it was normal, and I never told anybody about it or anything, because like I said, I thought that was just something that people just have.
You said ID.
Say it again.
IDA? Is that what you said?
Ideations.
Like thoughts.
I thought you said IDA. I'm like, what's that?
Yeah, like thoughts not necessarily that I was going to do something to, at that young of age to harm myself, but just of the thoughts of just hoping that I would just not wake up, kind of thing. That just wishing that I didn't exist, and things that you shouldn't be thinking about at that young of age. But unfortunately, that's just kind of, I think, sixth grade. Um, Pretty much when I moved to Georgia, that's when it set in. I don't know if it's because I was no longer at home in Texas, because Texas will always be home for me. Um, but that's that's I believe that's when it started for me, and it's carried on, and then later on in life, not to jump too far, but when I became a cop and all the things that I did see, and not saying that I was some kind of crazy investigator and saw all the wildest of the wild, but I did see some terrible things and do some things and some stuff that'll never be able to be erased from my mind. And um and my life is forever altered from that. And
People
the way
don't realize like the toll that it takes being in that profession. Like separating that aside too, like I was in, the working with the medical examiner or whatnot. So like I'd be on scenes all day long, picking up people, no matter whether it be natural or homicide or something. And I mean, yeah, man, things that like that I seen and seen things that the cops see on a daily basis is something that most people never see in their entire life, and they don't. I mean, there's days like I would just go home crying, just crying my eyes out because I'd seen, so many things, and I'm just like, so I have empathy with you there because I feel you on that. I've never been a cop, but working hand in hand, side by side, I saw a lot of what they saw.
and then being a man and then being a cop, those two main things, but especially being a cop, the way I tell people is that you're conditioned to compartmentalize. You don't talk about it. You don't say shit to anybody.
Yeah,
You can't, because the second that you say anything about it, they strip you of everything that you have. And eventually, that's exactly what happened to me.
really.
It's that
And
Yeah,
I
it,
sad
lost
that you, being males, that you guys have to deal with that even harder on top of whatever you're trying to, establish in your life. And I couldn't imagine, having to suppress my emotions to fit a facade, to fit an image. And it's horrible that, men have to deal with that. And the suicide rate for men is much higher than women.
and I mean, those thoughts come and go, and you know, I have good days and bad days like anybody else, uh, but my big attempt was in November of 21, and I mean, it was like some shit out of the movies. I mean, it was awful. I mean, awful, and it cost me everything. And
it
so
it's I know you mentioned, like as a kid, you dealt with the ideations for like a long time before you said anything. Like, did you ever finally say anything to your parents at all? Or
never,
like,
not
ne-
not one time.
wow. So it's not like they could have got you help or anything. If
No, and I don't know why, but the best thing I can think of is, when I look back at it, is because I think that I just thought that it was normal. I thought kids just have those thoughts, because people joke around and say those things all the time.
yeah,
And so that's why I guess I just assumed that everyone has those thoughts. And I guess mine were just a whole lot deeper and darker than other people's.
do you think that if you did, if you would have reached out to them, like it maybe could have changed your mentality on the whole thing?
Yeah, but honestly, at the same time, man, for, I've been off and on mental health medications for, I don't know, 12, no, 15, at least 15 years now. And even now that, that I've been on these meds off and on for all these years, I still have these thoughts. And obviously I've still acted on them before. So, I mean, it's not a cure all.
Right, right.
I went on this past summer. I had to, much like I've had thoughts. I've never acted on anything until this past summer. I had to change a dosage in one of my mental health meds, and I was wanting to, play chicken with trucks. I wanted to headbutt Jared. We're driving 80 on a motorcycle, on the highway, and I want to headbutt him just to see if he can control the vehicle, or control the motorcycle. Like, those thoughts came out of nowhere, and I opened up real quick to my doctor about it and what was going on. And it took a little while to find a medicine to even help, with those impulses.
Yeah.
Imagine, like, dealing with just what I had to deal with for a couple of months before I found a medicine that helped. Like, I couldn't imagine having to push through every single day in life, just having those thoughts, being processed in my mind. And then, to hope that you can find a medicine to help it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. For all these years, I've been like this lab rat, you know, taking this medication, and then they add this one and take this one away, and then up this one and add this one, and then up this one but take this one away.
uh,
And finally, like, I think I'm on one that is helping more than any other ones ever have. But then I realized yesterday that I have been withdrawing for the last several days, because when I went to take my meds last night, I realized that I haven't had it in like 4 or 5 days because it hasn't come. I get all my medications in the mail, and I put them all, in the little thing where it's labeled, by day. And last night when I went to take my medications, I noticed that something didn't look right. And then I found the empty bottle and I was looking at it and realized that it had gone out, and I knew that I had been feeling weird. And so I've been withdrawing from this medication. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's just,
Like, I can only imagine because like I know how Brianna gets when she doesn't have her meds. And so like even just a few hours with her not taking them, like she starts feeling completely off. So
my, my brain has like been mush the last couple of days, and I couldn't figure out what the heck was going on until last night when I realized that that medication was not here with me.
did you reach out? Are they going to get it for you?
Yeah, it'll be here tomorrow morning. Um, so, I mean, it's coming, and, you know, and all will be fine. But just the fact that something was majorly going on with
yeah.
me and I didn't know what it was. And then it's because I haven't taken that medication like I'm supposed to. And it just because they didn't send it,
Right.
and I didn't even realize it because I take so many medications that it just got overlooked.
Wow. Going back to growing up, so did did it like affect you on like when it came to like relationships? Not even like yeah, romantically, but not even just more like social and friends and all that. Like how did dealing with all of the mental health aspect of it.
Yeah, I've always felt different. I don't know what other word to use. Um, but I mean, I've always had friends. It's not like, I've been a loner by any means, um, but I've always felt different. Um, and I guess it's always been because of that.
Yeah. Do you ever met other people that started like having the same, that you could open up to, that maybe could understand?
Ye- yes and no. But, and the reason I say no is because I don't like talking to people about my thoughts, my mental health per se. I don't know if it's a judgment thing. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's a you want me to explain it to you and you're going to act like you care, but you probably really don't.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is with me, and people just pound it in me to you know to talk to me, talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. And I just can't do it. I just don't talk to people. And I don't know if it goes back to the being a cop part or what it is, but I just can't do it. Now I have a psychiatrist, but anybody who knows, when you have a psychiatrist, that there's a line that you can only say so much, because if you cross that line, you know where you go.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to stay beneath that threshold of what you can and can't say. And then so I go see my psychiatrist every month, and then I have a therapist. I go see my therapist every week, and I've learned with him that there is also a threshold. So I have to stay right underneath that line, because if I cross that, I know where I go. And so you can't be open with somebody with everything that you're really thinking and really going through professionally, because at the end of the day, the only thing that's going to do is get you put right back into a facility
Mm-hmm.
by telling, if you tell somebody in the professional world the 100% truth, all that does is put you back into a facility. And I've been there twice. And they're not the worst things in the world. The second time I went to the facility, I actually took myself to prevent me from making another attempt, because I was on that track. So I checked myself in. Um, but anybody who is in this life knows that there is a line. And so you can't be honest all the way when it comes to these things. And it sucks.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be there as a support, and I can imagine not feeling like you actually have that support.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Like you
supposed to help.
can't actually open up.
It,
Yeah, it's supposed to help you, but they're not
yeah.
really. You're there to pick you apart.
I want to tell you everything that I'm thinking and all the things that I feel about myself. And yes, all the thoughts I'm having about myself. But I need you to be able to talk me through it. And I need to know that I'm going to walk out of here freely
Mm-hmm.
and not get escorted out of here and taken to a facility. And that's not the case. And that's why you can't be honest. And it's not fair, man.
I was worried when I brought up those thoughts to my prescriber and my therapist last summer. And I increased my appointments with my doctor. I increased my appointments with my therapist. It was difficult, being honest, telling them like I've basically locked myself in my house because
Yeah,
I'm scared to leave my house. I'm scared of what I'm gonna do.
I'm a self isolator.
Because I can't, I can't, like, I do. I want to go walk to work and I want to walk in the middle of the road. Then I don't care who's coming down the road. And the one thing that they told me, which I'll always remember, is I'm like, this is weird. Like, it's weird to hear me say this out loud, like what I've been thinking, but they told me it's not weird. It's not strange. It's not off. You're not the only person that thinks this way. There are other people that think this way, and that's okay. Let's deal with it.
Yeah.
And imagine not being able to tell them, that I stepped out in front of a truck while it was coming down the road and they didn't notice me. Like I don't know where I'd be today if I could not open up about that and be worried about, what was going to happen. I should have been probably. I wasn't worried that, they were going to send me away, but I was worried to admit those thoughts to somebody else.
Yeah. I know exactly where it's going to put me, you know, and, and that has consequences, because it alters my visitation with my children, and it alters my employment, and it alters everything, and so everything has a consequence. And so you have to keep that in mind. Do you tell the truth about it, or do you have to keep it to yourself? And when you keep shit to yourself, what does it do? It just builds up and it builds up and it builds up.
What um how are your so I'm assuming at one point or another you had to eventually tell your parents, I'm assuming as an adult, now that you're speak actively and open about it. Like how is their support towards you knowing all of this?
Well, I didn't have to tell them. They saw it firsthand. They actually saw it unfold. Uh, I I guess from like little pieces of it have started coming back to my mind as my uh, psychiatrist and my therapist have been telling me that over time parts of it will be coming back. Um, but apparently, somewhere along the lines, I must have made a decision that that weekend was going to be my last weekend on this planet. And so I went home and uh, I guess I started drinking and started taking pills with all my prescriptions, um, but which are a lot, and I had a whole lot. Um, I'm not really sure what all I took, because everything was kind of taken from here, from the scene. So
Mhm.
I don't really know 100% sure what I took. Um, but I know I started drinking. I know um, that there was a video of an empty bottle of rum. There were 10 Corona cans. There were pills scattered all over the bed. There was uh, all of my firearms somewhere in my room. I don't know. I don't remember if they were on my bed or on the floor or where they were. I don't remember. Um, uh, what else?
So you just took all that shit. You just took everything.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know how much of it I ingested. And apparently, I guess I had blacked out. I had overdosed of some sort, and I must have woken up and realized that the job didn't work. I guess whatever I had attempted to do was not successful. Um, and I proceeded to post the most elaborate and ridiculous suicide letter on Facebook. It's awful. Um, I've only read it one time, and actually I didn't even read it. My psychiatrist or my therapist at the time read it to me, um, and it was horrible. And somewhere along those lines led to several hours of a standoff with I don't know how many police officers and sheriff's deputies, all of whom I worked with, um, with my duty weapon to my head the entire time. Um, at some point, apparently, I put it down, and I guess I was taken to a hospital, and from there, I was taken to a mental hospital where I spent a week in that facility and made it from 21 until the end of September of last year before relapsing again. And that's whenever I took myself back to that facility and spent another week there.
What do you like? I personally have never dealt with like suicidal thoughts, mental health all day long. But like my grandfather unfortunately committed suicide, and my brother-in-law committed suicide, and so I I see I see it, but I can only like imagine the point that somebody has to be at for that to be their only option. That they feel that that's their only option,
And it
and
doesn't make sense, man. And not to cut,
I was
not,
gonna say, like, I was gonna step in for you, Mark, and just like when somebody's depressed, they're like, "Oh, snap out of it," or somebody's having anxiety, "Oh, snap out." You can't, and
yeah,
there's that specific that can trigger it. It can just be the smallest little thing that just sets you off that day, and there's
but
no.
yeah, and but what I was saying though is, and it doesn't make sense to me because I have reasons to be here, Like I have my kids, and why would I want to leave them? But when it takes over, I have no fucking, or sorry, I have
you're
no
good.
control over anything. Like I'm just losing. I'm being completely defeated, and everything else comes second. And it is it, and people just bash me like, but your kids. I know that. I'm clear. I get it. I want to be here for them. But in those moments when it's there, it's got me.
Yeah, yeah. It's like Chester Bennington from Lincoln Park when he was doing one of his things, and he was telling him, he's like, when I'm in my head, he goes, that is the absolute worst place that I can be at.
Exactly.
And the people were, I don't know if you'd ever seen the clip, but the people were laughing at him. The radio station that he was in, like they were just like, and and that right there was a whole cry for help. And then it wasn't too much longer after that he actually went through with it. But He's like it completely takes over him as a person, and like I'm never one to sit there and judge it. Obviously, it's really hard for me to wrap my mind around that because it's like I see even kids at 8, 9, 10 years old that have attempted or they've followed through and they've been successful. And you're like, how the fuck at 10 years old can you like what makes you want to go home and hang yourself at 10 years old? Like it was just I get baffled by it like and it hurts. It fucking hurts to know that there's people that think that way and that they feel like that's their only option.
So sad, man. But when I tell people, man, that it completely exhumes you, it takes over everything in you, and you got to ride it out. I mean, that's all you got to do, or that's all you can do, not all you got to do, but that's all you can do is ride it out and hope for the best. You hope you come out of it.
I mean, you're obviously here for a reason because you attempted that and you took a shit ton of stuff and you woke up from it. And that's
And
more than what most people can say.
and and I have no idea what happened that night. All I know is when I got to rehab, dude, I had so many bruises and scratches and shit all over me. I don't know what the hell happened to me that night in my room. I have no idea. I don't know if I was falling all over the place. I don't know what happened, but I was beat up. So, it, I mean, I hate to laugh at it, but the fact that I just have no idea what happened.
At
And
what point did you start using okay, so at what point did you start realizing like to start being an advocate and sharing about this like on TikTok and different things? Like what came behind that?
man, it's what's when I got out of rehab, it's like I'm really good about trying to help people with their problems. I may not listen to my own advice, but maybe I can at least help you, and people are constantly telling me you have no idea how many people you're helping, people that will never even speak up and say it, but you have no idea how many people are watching from the sidelines, and how many people that are benefiting from your content, and I don't know if that's true or not, but I got to keep trying it, you know.
I can tell
For sure.
you, sharing your message will helping people. It is,
Absolutely.
you're having a one-on-one. I mean, Jared's here too, I guess, but having like a one-on-one and just like listening to you and like expressing as much of your emotions as you can and stuff like that, you'll help validate other people, so they're not sitting there. I shouldn't be thinking this way. Like you were struggling when you were younger. You're gonna help validate a lot of people.
I was never abused or anything like that. So, and I know that that has a lot to do with a lot of people's, mental health and things like that. And so that is not something that I had happened to me. So I don't have, to that to blame. Um, I just legit just had mental health
Yeah.
issues that just started when I was young, and they've just been there. And I hid them, and I hid them, and I hid them forever. And if people don't want to believe it, fuck them.
Yeah.
But it's there. And
When people ask, they're like, "Oh, well, what happened to you? What happened to you?" Mental illness is a chemical imbalance.
yeah,
Like, it's not always something that we don't control. Because if we could control, nobody would have any mental. Nobody wants to deal with this stuff. But it's just a chemical imbalance, and some of us, we're just born that way.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it's this is real shit. This is real life. Like, like she was saying a minute ago, with you sitting here and whatnot and feeling the way you are, and it might help somebody think, maybe I shouldn't, I'm okay, like I don't have to feel like shit for feeling this way, but it's like, this is real life. Like, dude, you told me like you were struggling before we even came on today. And I appreciate you being like open and honest, but that just goes to show the world that like not everything is perfect. I mean, we're doing this podcast and you're going through a fucking war in your brain, but it's like you're still opening up, in hopes that somebody else is going to resonate and help them. But you still got to help yourself though, at the end of the day, like,
And I went to the hospital today because of this shit going on, and um, man, three different people today just stopped me randomly and told me that they were praying for me, and I don't know any of these people, none of them. And the third one, the one that got me the most, was this older lady in a wheelchair. And when I say a wheelchair, I don't mean just a regular one, man. I'm talking like, she's in real bad shape. And the motorized, like,
Oh, speed right.
caretaker, I mean, like, can't do anything on her own kind of thing. And, I'm about to get in the elevator, and she looks at me, and she calls me by my name. And I look at her, and she said, "I just want you to know I'm praying for you." And I lost it immediately, started crying. And she said, "I just want you to know that I'm going to pray for you for the rest of the week." And I just lost it, man. I said, "You have no idea what that means to me." I have no idea who she was. I have no idea how she knew my name.
Yeah, that's weird.
But I walked out of that hospital bawling like a bitch. And I have no idea who any of these three people were that told me that they were going to pray for me. And especially this lady that knew my name.
Kindness is free.
yeah.
Even a smile can change somebody's day.
And that's the thing, like, that's why when it goes back to like, you have no clue what somebody's going through. Like, you have zero clue on what someone's battling in their brain. And it's like she said, kindness is free. Like, if you're able to just literally go and just look at somebody, open the door for them, smile at the just whatever, because it could be that one moment that changes that whole, like, just like with you, that changes that whole person's day. And it's like, we don't know what the fuck people are going through. So it doesn't cost anything to be a fucking human being and
Yeah,
actually support people.
And it probably gave you some hope too.
man.
The
I
biggest thing,
sat,
hope.
I sat in my Jeep, man, and I just lost it. It took me a while before I could even pull out of that parking deck. I didn't know what to do. I don't know where all that came from. Why me? But
Yeah. Oh, there's a high, there's a higher power out there. No matter what you call it, but there's someone out there, So that's the way that I look at it. Everything is orchestrated for a whole reason and a purpose. But so so did somebody like tell you like, hey, you should start a TikTok or you should start doing videos, or did they like influence you to do that?
it's funny, man. One of my friends, man, I was so against TikTok. I was so against all that stuff. I didn't want anything to do with it. Um, and one of my friends was like, because this is right when I got out of rehab, and I had just written my first song, and um, and he was like, "Man, I think you really should try to get on TikTok and just do it for your music. And if it doesn't work out," he said, "then just get rid of it." He said, "But just give it a try." And I was like, man, I don't want to, you know, and I thought about it and I just didn't want to do it. And so finally one day I just made one. And I don't know what happened, but it just blew up. And, you know, I've got what, 50,000 followers now. And, um,
What was your
it's,
first video that you made?
I think my first one was about divorce because I was going through a really terrible divorce. And, and it just, you know, and I tried to make relatable content, you know, and that's what people want, you know, things that affect them in their everyday life, my stuff just took off.
So that was kind of like a sign to you're on the right track. Keep doing keep doing it.
Yeah, and I mean, and I was so shy when it came to making content, and so I just kept at it and kept at it and kept at it until now, you know, I'm hooked and I'm just
Yeah.
constantly making content and trying to always be better.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I was never like into the whole TikTok thing or anything. Like I was like, what the hell am I even doing? I only started doing it because the podcast, trying to post clips or different things like that. And so like I'm the same way. I'm super like I feel super awkward when I try to make a like if I ever try to make a video or something, it's super, super weird. But um TikTok, it's crazy the impact that social media, not even just TikTok, but social media has in a whole. The amount of people that you're able to reach, like it's fucking crazy. So the
Yeah,
fact that and like I said, sometimes it's just that one video that just blows up, goes viral, and then sometimes you don't get nothing, but it's a hit or miss. Like we have some where it's just like, oh well, we got 5,000 views on this, and then I'm like, well, I got 2 views on this, but
yeah,
it's just one of those things. Like Brianna's more like a pro at the TikTok than I am, so like I'm like always trying to figure out like how to scale it to the next level, but I got no problem going on other people's stuff and they share a video of me and they get 1 million views in a day, and it's just like shit. Why can't I get that?
exactly. Yeah,
and it's of me too. That's funny, but yeah. So, okay. And then for the music, was that just like another as an outlet as well? Just to
yeah,
because you said you wrote your first song like when you got out of rehab, right?
yeah. So when I first got out of rehab, um, I just decided that, you know, I was gonna try to do this music thing, and um, I got into my notes in my phone, and I wrote this song, and it was like 15 minutes, and I'd written this whole song. I was like, "There's no way!" Like that was just too simple. Like, and and so I reached out to a friend of mine who I actually met on a cruise ship. He was a performer on a cruise ship. He lives in the UK, um, named Kieran Cox. And I reached out to him, and he had said, you know, hey, you know, I've been wanting to do something for you ever since that incident had happened, and I just wasn't sure, you know, how I could help you, you know, obviously being all the way over here in the
Yeah.
UK. And I was like, well, you know, I just wrote this song, you know, tell me what you think. And so he was like, so I sent him the lyrics and everything. And so he messed around with it for a couple of weeks, and he threw the music to it and mixed it, mastered it, and sent it back to me. And then we released it to all the, you know, the streaming apps and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So, um, yeah, so just another thing.
Was your dad in like a cover band, or did they write their own music as well?
They did it. It was pretty much all covers. I think they had a couple of their own, but it wasn't. It was pretty much all covers.
So you didn't
Yeah.
get it from
So it was all like his pictures on the wall down there, and like the Wall of Fame or whatever down in the bar that he played at and stuff. So I go check that out every time I go home, and I actually just saw it a couple days ago. I was just out there, but
We're at in Texas.
it's at the White Elephant at in the Stockyards.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I've been over there to stuck. Yeah, I used to live in Waco for a while, and then I got friends that live up in Fort Worth and whatnot, so I used to go
yep,
there a lot.
yep. So his pictures in there on the wall, man, and that's just a big deal to me, So maybe
Yeah,
one,
maybe one day you'll have a picture up there. You know,
yeah,
like music is big. I've been, and I'm going to be 35. Next week, and I've been writing music since I was 14 years old, 13, 14, and had always been an outlet for me. Um, you're happy, you write a song. You're sad, write a song. You're mad, write a song. Like there's
exactly.
always something, and even though like now, like I don't record now, is like I definitely write a lot, but if I find something that I really want to put out, like okay, cool, like I'll record, but I haven't. I need to get back to it. I definitely need to get back to it just because I know how much of a therapy it is for me. So I can only imagine the same for you.
Yeah,
Um,
the writing side of it is my preference. Like I'll sing and stuff like that too. But the writing part is what I love. Um, because it's just raw, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, Yeah, it's just one of those things, like sometimes, people prefer one thing over the other, but at the end of the day, this masterpiece gets created and you just put it out there for people to see. And I mean, obviously, people fuck with it because they support you and they're following you and you're
Yeah.
able to get that traction, so like you're relatable to a lot of people that are out there. What were you gonna say something, Brianna? I saw your lips move.
I was gonna ask, like you said, Texas will always be home. With this newfound passion that you have you thought about like eventually relocating?
I would love to, but like I said, my kids are here,
No.
um, so I'm not really sure how that would work. I got one that's getting ready to go to college, um, and another one that's in middle school, so that part would be tough. Um, I think outside of not being around her, uh, which that would be really tough for me. But if I was back home in Texas, I think I would be happier. Um, it would, I don't know, it would still suck not,
Yeah.
not being around her, but I've got to find something that to make me happier because not to be a Debbie Downer, but I haven't been happy in a long time.
And I'm sure
Well,
like you have a platform and you have an internet following like that's so different than having that, that love and support around you as well and having that, that same happiness that you're giving to others just in your
Yeah,
own life.
I'm super blessed when it comes to my social media. I mean, I've got some hardcore, fans, followers, and it's awesome, and they really, really, really support me, especially, right now while I'm really struggling. But sometimes it's just
It's not enough.
not enough,
yeah.
and I know that they're trying to be genuine, but it's hard for me to accept it as that.
Did
Um,
I
to an extent, for her age, does your daughter, that's in middle school, understand what you struggle with, or do you kind of shelter and hide that from her?
I do not talk about that with her. I do not know what her mom talks about with her. I know that when there are times that it is known that I am not doing well, you know, that something is said to her, that maybe you're not going to see your dad this week or whatever, maybe he needs some time or whatever, which is fine. Because she doesn't need to see me like that anyway. So, um, I didn't choose this. Um, but
Do you do you like ask questions to her? Like if you notice like signs in her, do you ask her if she's okay and she knows, that she could speak to you because you understand, or is that all just you just hide all of that from her?
she's 11. Um, so no,
Yeah.
I mean, she's she's my little basketball player. She's my I mean, she's amazing. I love that kid so much. Obviously, I love both of my kids, but my other one is a lot older, and she's working all the time, and she's getting ready to go to college, and I don't get to see her very much, and that hurts. But you know, the
That
divorce and things that I did, you know, during during my marriage, as far as not being greatest husband and things like that, doesn't didn't go over so well. So, I get it. So,
I feel your pain when it comes to the kids because like my kids live in San Antonio with their mom, and I live here in New York with Brianna, and like I absolutely love my kids 100%. And then but it was like it was hard, man. It was a hard choice, definitely. I mean, they were moving around with their mom and whatnot, and so it was like, I had to get to a point where it's like I had to be happy too, and it's like I got a great life out here, but if I had my kids, like that would just top it off. Like it would be the best thing ever because I got good days and I got bad days. Whether I tell Brianna about it or not. Like there's days I'm just like it fucking kills me that I don't see my kids, and I don't have them near me. But then, but it's like they know though, like they know that they know I don't love them any less. But they're it's they got 13, 11, and then my daughter's gonna be 9, and so it's like between the three, like now I'm my oldest and my middle son, they're dealing with mental health and whatnot, and so it's like learning to navigate that with them and whatnot, because my middle son has been at that age where, or not the age, but he's been in that stage where he's brought up talking about suicide and whatnot, and I'm just like at 11 years old, like and so it's just it's a touchy subject, but it's just something that like we really got to talk about it and just make it known, because like I said, like you said, you grew up thinking that it was okay, like that was normal, and I don't want him growing up thinking that like that is okay, like that's normal.
yeah, you're right.
Like when my this kind of like it kind of tears me up, but like I remember like when my ex-wife called me and told me that he was having like those suicidal thoughts, like dude, I broke down crying
Yeah,
because I was just like, holy shit, like he's 11 years old and he's thinking about want to commit suicide, like that killed me, absolutely killed me.
yeah, I, I, yeah. It's not happening. Not letting it happen.
Yeah. You gotta keep them busy now.
See, this is like it's crazy because like when we do these episodes, man, you never know what we're gonna talk about. Like that's why I say like there's no fucking there's no format to it. Like we just talk and whatever comes out comes out. Like there's times we dive into people's stories and we hear all about it, and there's other times like it's like this. Like, dude, we're dealing with real feelings, in real life, and I appreciate you coming on, the last hour with us, feeling the way that you're feeling, but being, but still trucking on, wanting
Man, there,
to, and I would have, I would have, we would have understood, like if we had to reschedule it. I get it, but
I couldn't do it, man. There's so many people out there who are suffering in silence, man, that cannot say what we're out here saying. But hopefully, by seeing us saying what we're saying, they can at least grasp some of it,
yeah,
um, and relate to it. Um, but man, everyone has the fear of being honest about their mental health because of what you could face by being honest, what the outcome could be.
yeah,
And that is what's not fair, man.
exactly. It's like you just saying, like you can't be true. You can't have true feelings, and reach out just because. And aside from like, I know we were talking about that when it came to like the doctors and the psychiatrists and stuff, but yeah, like okay, now take that section aside, and it's just everybody else, family, friends, people on the internet, like. We're worried about saying how we truly feel because we're worried about how somebody's gonna take that, and how are we gonna, what are they gonna say about us?
Yeah,
And we shouldn't have to think that, man. We shouldn't. We shouldn't fucking be that way. Like we should be able to be 100% honest and truthful with ourselves, and be able to just go out and say, "Listen, I'm struggling." Look at, especially with the stigma with men. With us men, and dealing with mental health. Look at, you had Kanye West. You had Tyrese Gibson. Will Smith. They all went on. Celebrities, and went on, and they were having mental breakdowns, and people were fucking making memes out of them. And laughing and this that, and it's like, are we're that far gone as a society that like us as men can't fucking tell people how we're feeling without being made fun of or being called a pussy or a bitch because we're crying about something.
yeah, and that's why today I didn't even give a shit when I just bawling my eyes out. I pulled up TikTok and hit fucking play. I'm like, you know what? You can watch me cry. Don't care. You can
Were you
see this shit is real, raw, and don't care because this is how I am.
Yeah.
As simple as somebody, three different people telling me that they were going to pray for me today, and not a single one of these people knew me from nothing. I don't know where it came from, but the fact that they felt in their heart that they needed to tell me that they wanted to pray for me for whatever reason that it was, and I lost it. And instead of just going to the car and crying about it, getting over it, and then going home, it's like, fuck it. I'm going to hit play and you're going to watch it. So,
You were gonna say something, babe.
I think I came across your live earlier. Like when you had mentioned something earlier about that happening, I vaguely remember earlier seeing something, but I think I sat, I was getting ready for work, but I just sat there and I just, listened to you talk and, sit there and cry and stuff like that. And I tell people my biggest thing since getting sober is to feel your feelings. Feel them. Don't push them back. Feel your feelings. Your feelings are valid. Not everybody has to understand or agree with you feeling that way either. But the way you're feeling is valid, and we need to let people know that that's okay. Especially men. Especially men, and they should be okay. And it needs to be more normalized. We need to stop, when our boys are, 2, 3 years old, we tell them, get up, brush it off, move along.
yeah,
We don't ever ask, if they're having a bad day, what happened today, why. But we'll ask our daughters that, and I try and do that now. I'm trying to help my kids with that. I'll ask my son if I can tell that, that he's in a bad mood. Or I'll let him go calm down, and then I'll go and I'll speak to him. Because that's where we have to start changing stuff, is with, the young ones, and letting them know that it's okay to talk about stuff.
It's tough, man.
Yeah. But it's life. It's life, and we just got to learn how to navigate this, And that's where it comes with doing these podcasts, and you doing your music and the videos on TikTok, and it's just everybody coming together as a whole, and just raising awareness, and just being real, and just showing our feelings, and just and that's why we do this. We do this to share, one, not only our story and what we go through, but the guests as well, but then to show others too that are listening and watching, like, listen, like, we're human beings just like you, and we've made it out of some deep dark shit. You can do it too, and you don't have to be lost, even if you're currently thinking like the way you were thinking, Mark. Like, even if somebody's currently sitting there thinking about taking their life, like, you can make it back. You can make it back from it. You just gotta, you can. But that's it. It's not as simple as just saying just get over it.
Exactly.
It's never gonna be that simple. But I guarantee you that people love you, and that people, we would rather see somebody here than take their life, and I think that's just, man, sometimes that's what people need to fucking hear. People just need to hear that they are loved, and that they mean something to somebody.
Yeah, we just want to know that people are proud of us for something,
Yeah.
anything.
But just keep doing what you're doing, man. I mean, keep being that light, and being that light in the dark. And even though you're battling your own demons, you're still being a light. You're still shining for others, and keep doing that. Because at the end of the day, that's what it takes, and that's what we need. We just need people that are just going to be dedicated, and just 10 toes down, and fucking live a life to help serve other people.
I'm no saint, but man, I'm trying.
Where can the listeners and the viewers that don't know, where can they find you at? Where can they follow you and support you at?
Man, I'm over on TikTok, Mark Hampton Music. Uh, like I said, the one with the 50,000 followers, and the only reason why I say it like that is not to brag, but I say that because there's, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 plus fake accounts out there with my
Yeah.
name.
And
Um,
do that. Like, I'll sit there, like, I'll randomly, it'll be 2 o'clock in the morning, and I follow some big account, and within seconds, a fake account's following me back. Like, how do they know that stuff?
yeah,
How do they, like,
they
pry
just
on you?
they monitor it, man, and they just
It's
try to get people, and they try to get you to, send them money and all those things, man. And as long as I've had this TikTok, man, I've never asked a single person for anything, So, I don't ever send anybody any money, nothing with my name on it. Like, the only thing that I have listed in my profile uh, is my website for all of my mental health merch that I design. Um, but that's if people want to go get it. If you don't. It's not the end of the day. I just have that just for something extra for me. It's something I like to do, is just come up with designs for different things. I like to see people wearing it. I like to wear it myself. I wear a lot of my own merch just
that what
because
you say?
I that yeah, this is one of them that we do recover. But you know, I'm over on Instagram and all the things, but my main thing is just on TikTok. And um, but I really appreciate you guys reaching out to me and asking me to come on here. And I haven't
Oh
done a
yeah.
podcast in years,
Well,
but
that's cool, man. We appreciate it. We appreciate you. Hopefully this conversation kind of helped you, I don't know, maybe helped you feel a little bit better. Well, we'll put all the links in the description for all your socials and whatnot. So everybody go follow Mark, go show him some love, go cop some merch if you're up to it, and until next time, we signing off.